Hey y'all. So I got some Russian Amanitas. I've got some Pantherina coming. As you can imagine, some sessions are going to be happening soon on camera. Also, I've got some stuff coming up about the oil extracts that I made, which is a little crazy. The results of that. So much to talk about. Oh my God. So I'm trying to keep this one on topic. I have been wanting to talk about this for so long. And as you can tell by the title, I need to know if this happened to you guys. So don't forget that I do a live video the second Saturday of every month. And as of the making of this video, it's coming up. I do it at 2 Eastern Standard Time. And my Etsy store, y'all ask all the time, bless your hearts, you're so supportive. It sells out in 24 hours now. I try to keep some back and upload it again for those that missed it. And then that's gone within a few hours. I'm going to try to set a date every month. And I think I'm going to try to do like the 20th of every month that I just stock the store. And if I happen to get things put together sooner, I'll do it sooner. But I don't know. I'm trying to figure this out, y'all. I'm learning as I go. And the patrons on Patreon, we do a Zoom meeting on the first and second Saturdays of the month. So those are cool. If you want to buy me a coffee, I could use the caffeine. If you think that what I'm doing is helpful and you get anything out of it. The link is in the description to all this stuff. I am being highly censored, so if you want any of the videos that YouTube has taken down, they are on the Odyssey channel. All this is in the description. To find the description, right here, there's a little down arrow. And you click that and it'll open up the description if you're on a phone. So let's talk about time. Back when I first started the channel, one of the first videos I made was about time, like shifting your sleep patterns. And then I've had videos where we talked about how this is the time distortion mushroom messes with your sense of time. In my first trip report, I told y'all I had this urgent feeling of needing to be in the den. And I didn't tell you about it there. I'd forgotten about it, but I needed this urgent feeling I had this urgent feeling that I needed to be out on the back deck. And I sort of had this urgent thought loop. And then I thought about Alice in Wonderland and how I'm late. But he never gets anywhere. Like through the whole thing, the rabbit's always late. And there's this urgent sense of time and he's holding a stopwatch or a clock. So this is definitely the time mushroom. And one of the first things that happened to me was I would get these weird, well, first of all, whenever I took it and took too much, there was always that distortion of thinking like 20 minutes had passed and it had been an hour. Or thinking I had done something for an hour and it had been 10 minutes, right? So many of you know that. But what happened early on in the very beginning was I would get these glitches. Tell me if this happens to you. And this was in the early days of using it, over 2 years ago. And I would get these momentary like bzz, bzz, flashes where I'm in my current time, but then all of a sudden I would sit beside I would have this flash where my vision, out of my eyes is over here and it's in the future by a few seconds. And then I'd pop back over here and I was like, and I know one time I was going down a flight of stairs and all of a sudden I had this blip of being at the bottom of the stairs and stepping off the last stair. And then I was back at the top. And these happened a lot. Like, it was kind of weird when it happened when I was driving. I would be driving 10 years ago where I lived 10 years ago, like just for a split second, then I'd be back in current time. And that's during like normal life, not under the influence. And when I was out of my protocol for microdosing, not even taking it, just getting these weird blips. And one of the other things that I started to notice is I was really not worried about the future anymore. And you know how panic and anxiety, that's all you do. You stress about, oh my God, I got to leave the house. Oh my God, what if? Oh my God, what if? Like you what if yourself to death. And I would wake up in the middle of the night worrying about the next day, a bill. I mean, you name it. The list is, it's so long. It was always the future. And one of the first things I noticed is I wasn't worried about the future. Everything was going to be okay. Like, oh my God, what an amazing peace of mind. I started messing up the future. So like if I had an appointment, I'm used to being able to remember, well, I didn't when I was on benzos, so I got used to having a calendar. But pretty quickly, that's my cats, they're in there in a mood. But pretty quickly, I realized I didn't need the calendar anymore. Like I was remembering things. And I was like, okay, cool, I'm getting my mind back. I was using lion's mane, I was off the benzos, and I was really happy to be healing. And I just didn't need a calendar much anymore. I was able to remember my appointments and stuff. But then I started realizing that I was living more and more in the present moment. And I actually started, I would do stuff like, okay, this appointment is sometime next week. And then when next week would start, I would be like, it'll be okay. It'll happen when it's supposed to happen. Like, no, it needs to happen at a very specific time. But I was also really chill about like needing to talk to somebody. Something comes up, I need to talk to them. I used to be like, I need to get this done here, now, settled, finished, off the list so I can move on. But that's because I was so stressed out. You know, my list of things to do felt unbearable. So I started just being really chill about when things happened, and they always happened when they needed to, and it always worked out well, and the synchronicities got to be amazing. But it also meant that I started making mistakes about dates and times, and I had to go back to a calendar. So that happened for like a year, but then it started affecting the past. I started having more and more memories of things that I think the benzos blocked out that I didn't write very well to memory. And also other things that I did, I would forget that I did. So it's like the past got really weird. The past I had forgotten, I started to remember. The past that I remembered, I started to forget. That was weird. Then I started just misremembering how events happened. Recalling something with someone and they're like, you didn't do that. And I mean, I have a vivid memory, a video in my head from my point of view of actually doing that thing. And then them saying no and then showing me proof or whatever. And that's surreal. When you have an actual memory of it happening one way and it didn't happen that way at all. Or I would find my own proof. Or this started happening. Sometimes now I have two memories of how something happened and I remember them both equal. Very real. So many of those. A conversation I had with my daughter, and I came down on one side of the conversation in one memory and another side of the conversation in another memory. I remember feeling both ways about it and simultaneously having two different conversations. What is that? Because when I had my psilocybin trip, if you haven't seen that video, go to the playlist tab under I Do Mushrooms. But, you know, I saw all of the different realities. But when I tripped on Amanita, a lot of people said they've seen this, and it's in my trip simulation, my Amanita trip simulation video, of reality breaking off into two realities, into 3, into 5, into 20, into 100, into 1,000. Simultaneous realities. Like I've seen simultaneous realities happening in one moment on a trip. And then there's that whole thing about, is it real? Did it really happen? What's real? You know, define what real is. But I can tell you, I am now a woman with a double past. And it doesn't surprise me anymore, but it really kind of freaked me out the first time I had two memories that are completely different of the same situation. And I actually don't know now which one was the new memory and which one was the one that happened. I don't know now. And I'm starting to have that happen now with memories since I've gotten off benzodiazepines. Not the distant past, but just like 6 months ago or a year ago. And it's weird. It's starting to make me look mentally damaged. Like the benzos really did a lot of damage. But I'm fine. I can think on my feet. I can pull up the words I need. I remember everything I want to say in a video. I don't have a script. Like my mind is fine now. As fine as it can be. After all those benzos, I mean, great for me. I feel good about it. But it's these, I think that it's Thursday and it's Monday. Like, I don't even mean like one day apart. Like, I think it's Thursday and it's Friday. I mean, it's the weekend and it isn't. It's Tuesday. Like, and I knew when I woke up this morning what I had to do today and the meetings that I had to go to, and that it wasn't a weekend. And then an hour later, it's a weekend. It's a Sunday. And I'm just convinced it's a Sunday, and I'm living like it's a Sunday. And it's like, what? So much time distortion. And this feels permanent. And I'm not abusing Amanita. I go months without needing it or taking it or microdosing it. This last round of YouTube taking down my videos did a number on me. And I had some serious triggers and flashbacks and a really difficult time with it. And I had to get back on the protocol. But I just did the microdosing protocol. If you don't know what the microdosing protocol is, it's in the playlist. But, you know, I finished it. So, I mean, I'm not recreationally using it. I used it recreationally, well, to summon the elders on the winter solstice, you know? That was like 3 or 4 months ago. So I know it's not because I'm taking too much of it. This is happening no matter how much I take, how much or how little, or whether I'm taking it at all. I'm not on any other drugs. I don't drink alcohol. I don't smoke anything other than my own smoke blend. I take 1 hit sometimes in the evenings to chill if it's been a long day. And I'm beginning to think that this is a permanent consequence of being in harmony with the mushroom, allowing it to be in me, giving it free rein, dosing it, drinking it, eating it, smoking it, living in harmony with it, having it in my home, talking about it, seeing other people use it, having pictures of it. Like, maybe this is permanent. And so recently, what I'm thinking, you know, it really is rough on you to live in horror of the past, living in a constant state of trauma of the past. And I've talked about this, what Amanita does for us, and how we are supposed to learn from our trauma. And we're supposed to write that into our memory as a lesson, as learning, to help keep ourselves safe. But the actual feelings of trauma, the PTSD from it, we're not supposed to keep. We're supposed to do these entheogens to get rid of the pain so that we only are left with the knowledge. And I talked about that. If you want to know more about that, I was a guest on the Psychedelic Historians podcast. So if you want to go to his channel and see that, we get into that. But I wonder if our ancestors lived mostly in the now. And once they grieved and moved on, then they were back to the present. That maybe they were concerned about the hunt, but that maybe they lived in harmony with these entheogens, the way I'm doing, the way I see a lot of people do. They use entheogens just living in flow, or what New Age is calling the law of attraction, which I have a series on that's in the playlist. I'm beginning to wonder now if this was not our state all along, that this is how we're supposed to live in the present moment, and that what this does, what the Amanita does for us, is it's going to say, okay, well, the trade-off is if you want to live in the present moment, your memory of the past is going to be pretty sketchy, and you're going to look like a crazy person because you can't remember details about the past. And you're also going to be aware of multiple past, and possibly even aware of other selves and you experiencing other realities simultaneously, if that's a thing. You have access to those now. Maybe I'm beginning that. And you're not going to live in fear of the future. We've pretty much taken care of that right off the bat. But the trade-off is you better write shit down, girl, or you're going to miss some appointments. I find myself saying, I don't know, a lot now. But I feel so free. I can sense the future of it, that's not something I need to do. It's insane the way I am connecting all of the dots of all of the things that I've ever been obsessed with, learned, and studied. Each of them on multiple levels and together on multiple levels. My intelligence has definitely changed. But it's very much here and now. My life feels very much right here, right now, to the point that there have been a couple of times I've started dinner and just walked away from it. Like, well, that was an interesting thing to do. It's not like the benzos. I'm very aware of what I'm doing. I'm very busy. I'm very in the now. And then I'm like, oh shit, I'll smell dinner. Oh my God. And then I'm very much into dinner again. So I've gotten better about it. Now that I realize I'm going to start doing this, now I'm real good about going, okay, I'm going to end everything and close it off and start dinner. And that way I don't allow anything else to sort of interfere. And I think I need to close doors and put like walls around the present moment and then be fully in the present moment. I'm having to learn how to live in the present moment. It's really weird having to do that. When living in the present moment is easy, but it's so present, it's so this moment, you know, like sometimes you need to be able to carry out a process and not leave the process. And it seems like even as I have thought that and realized it's becoming a problem, it has gotten better just by acknowledging that it's been a problem and sort of speaking to the mushroom and saying, okay, that's not cool. We're a little too much in the moment. It seems to have gotten better. But that's what it seems to me, is that this is a permanent time distortion where I don't even think about or worry about the future anymore. My memories of the past are very sketchy, distorted, or multiple. And I'm in the present moment a lot, and I leave the present moment a lot. And I go to other present moments, or I go to the past completely and fully to get information. Like I'll pop into some place in the past, see that information, see it on a book or a screen or in an experience or a conversation, and then I pop back here and it's like, okay, well, that's that information. Cool, that's how I got it. You know, I remember being there. It's like I'm accessing memories that I know I lived, but that most of us lose. We don't have the ability to bring it into conscious memory. And now that I'm doing this with Amanita, what would they think of me and do with me with all this flow memory and working memory and fluid memories, like all these different types of accessing your memory? And what is Amanita doing in there with all of it? Are any of you experiencing this? I really want to know. I feel so alone in my experiences with Amanita because there's just so little out there about it, you know? Will you show up and in the comment section and talk to me about your experiences with time and time distortions? Like, is any of this happening to any of you? I want to know. It's pretty cool. I'll try to get into some discussions on this with some people that I like do interviews with or talk to maybe sometime on camera so we can get into some discussions with it. I have an interview coming up with the author of the Flya Garrett Compendium. That's cool. The CEO of Psyched Wellness. That's cool. There's a couple of other people's channels that I'm going to be a guest on. I'm not going to talk about that yet in case it doesn't happen. We'll see. It's fascinating and I love it. This to me is probably my favorite result, other than getting rid of panic and anxiety, from the Amanita. And I love you, beautiful people. Thank you so much for being with me on this journey. Is this not a trip? It's just so crazy. I love you. Bye.